How's it going, everybody? So I have this weird overlay on me for a while. I'm going to leave it up for about a minute maybe because I want people to filter in, and then we'll get started. But yeah, this is an exciting one because we're going to be producing a really well-rounded, cohesive icon set, and I'm going to show you my process for doing that real shortly. So I'm going to get the live chat pop up here. I'm looking at it now. You can kind of see it with my opaque overlay. How's it going, everybody? Yes, hello from India. Brazil. I want to move. I live in Ohio in the United States, and I hate it here. I'll be honest, I don't like it. Don't like it here. Hopefully the stream health improves. It usually does. It starts out like not too great, the quality, but then it should speed up here. How can you join the Discord? Well, there's a link in the description of YouTube, so you can just click on that Discord link once you find it, and then just join up. Awesome. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, I got 900 plus new subscribers yesterday. Close to a record for me. I'm going to start in about, I don't know, 30 seconds maybe? Yeah. Let's get this overlay off, and then let's get this overlay on. There we go. Yeah. Unfortunately, the ISPs have these territorial monopolies. So, you know, if you know anything about monopolies, they don't have much of an incentive to give us really fast, awesome internet speed. So, the U.S. sucks when it comes to the internet speeds. All right, okay, so we're gonna get started. Good, we got good stream health, as YouTube is letting me know. All right, so what we're going to do first, before we begin, this project follow along live stream is sponsored by Skillshare, that little overlay over there. In this particular follow along tutorial, I guess we can call it, is focused on one of the Skillshare classes, which you can check out. And Skillshare, of course, is an online platform for learning all sorts of cool stuff. So there's a course here called Icon Design, Create a Cohesive Icon Set. It's gonna show a lot more than what I'm showing today in terms of like exporting the icons correctly. So there's just a lot of information in here that you should check out, and again, just use the join link, and it's just you get the first 2 months free. So why not do it? So this is gonna be based on sort of just some techniques in here, and we're gonna design a really well-rounded sort of icon set. All right, so let's go ahead. I'm gonna open up Illustrator, and from time to time, I'm gonna check out the. By the way, check this out. This is like a few years old, and this is like one of my most proud sort of typographic based designs I've done. Isn't that awesome? Yeah, I use the Cintiq for the my drawing monitor for that part. But anyhow, I am digressing a little bit too much. We're gonna start here. The artboard for these icons isn't gonna really matter too much. I'm gonna hit create here. Just leave it on the default settings. And the whole goal going forward for this tutorial is to create a cohesive icon set. So whenever you have an icon set, you know, whether it's being used on a user interface or anywhere else, you want to make sure consistency is there. And so in my last my UI design course that I put out like 3 days ago, I went over design fundamentals, and they apply to so much more than just the user interface design. It applies to identity design and graphic design and icon design as well. And one of those key important aspects of design fundamentals is being consistent. So we want to establish a style, and we were going to establish a theme as well. So Valentine's Day is coming up, and I thought, all right, let's do a Valentine's styled icon set. And we're going to do like 4 or 5 different icons. You can follow along with me exactly exactly what I'm designing if you're kind of new to Illustrator, just so you can get, you can understand how to work with different shortcuts and tools. But I would also recommend afterwards, or even while I'm doing it, if you're more comfortable, doing your own theme. So don't do exactly what I'm doing, but use the techniques that I'm doing to design your own icons, okay? So like I said, for me, we're going to be doing an icon set based on Valentine's Day. All right, so the first thing I did is I went to Chrome here, images.google, and Valentine's Day. So this could, in that course, that Skillshare course, by the way, he did like an outdoors sort of theme, like just icons for outdoors, and just went to just looked at different images that are associated with it so you can get ideas. So the first thing with Valentine's Day, of course, would be a heart. And I'm going to start out very simple, although doing a heart is very interesting. I'm going to show you a trick that I learned from a different YouTuber, Dansky, I think, about how to create a heart, a perfect heart shape. But then we're going to expand on this and get some more ideas for icons, such as like a wine glass, like, wine and they kind of go hand in hand. An arrow, a flower. So we're going to tackle these things and try to make them grade A, stuff that, on an icon set that you would sell, all right, or someone would pay for. So a heart is going to be the very first thing I start with. And the way that individual, the icon designer, approached it is, like, you didn't even use this, the canvas right here. If you zoom way out, you can see this is the entire area that you can use to design. It's huge. And so what we're going to do is first just get a rectangle on here, and I'm going to left click once and just choose 80 pixels, or points rather, by 80 points. Oh, you don't want to do that. There we go, 80 points. Why does that look like yeah, that doesn't look correct. Right now I have some different panels that are on my other monitor. I have to get these into view here. There we go. 80. All right. There. Now we have our square. Geez, what was happening? I was like, what the? Also, I'm going to get rid of the stroke. And this box here, we're going to lock as well. And if you go to Edit Preferences, and we go to General, Keyboard Increment, when you nudge it with your keyboard keys, I have it at, we're going to change this to 1 pixel. Hit OK. All right, and so we've locked it. The reason I'm locking is because you don't want to select it by accident when you're working with it, but you can still have your guide show up, like when you're using the pen tool. It'll still let you know when you're reaching it, and you can still use it to find the center horizontally and vertically. So we're going to do a heart. By the way, I'm going to check out the chat here from time to time to make sure, my stream is still working. All right, cool, man. Okay, so to design a heart, a lot of people, they would try to use the pen tool and, create Bezier curves and, do something like that. And it's just so hard to get a good heart just using the pen tool alone. So a sort of a hack way to do it is to use the rounded rectangle tool. So when you left click and drag out, you could choose the rounded rectangle tool. And I'm just going to scale this something to where we have to make sure the corners up here are, perfectly round. And you do that with these little icons that you can drag in. So once they turn red, you're good. You can also adjust it by going to your window properties in this panel right here, and you click on these 3 dots, and you can adjust them here as well individually. And we'll be messing with that later on with a different icon. All right, so once we have this established, and by the way, we can just make it a, let's get a single color. Now you can have multi-color icons, but we're gonna keep things simple. I'm gonna choose like a custom color. So if I come out here to fill, and let's see here. I'm just gonna choose something that's not one of the default, I think I like that, swatches. So once we have that, we can just we can go back here and just left click and drag. That way we have this right here to use. All right, so once we have that, we can we want to rotate it. Now you could do it by like 45-degree angle. You hold shift. All right, then that would be kind of like a real wide sort of, because this would be this side and the top portion of a heart. But I think what I found to work pretty well was 38 degrees. All right, so I'm going to get this right into position here as much as possible. And also going to scale it up actually too. So we kind of want it to fit right as much as possible. Now I may make adjustments to this, but for now we're just gonna keep it right around there. Then what we will do is we take this, you can duplicate it, Control C, Control F, or if you want to left click, drag, and hold Alt, it'll create a copy automatically, just a couple different ways. After you have that duplicate, go to Transform, Reflect, make sure it's on vertical, hit OK. All right, so now we can see we have this heart shape here, and it's kind of big in the middle. So we can move this over. And now you can see sort of a heart that's kind of in this shape. Once you have both of them selected, and of course you can, move this over a lot or move it in, and it really affects, the type of heart that you're going to have in terms of this cleavage area. We want to take both of these. And by the way, when you select them, if you don't see the outlines, you hit Control H, and that's why those outlines aren't there. So Control H will toggle that on and off. Leave them on right now, because now we're going to use this tool. It's a shape builder tool, and you just go like this. Just left click and drag, and now we made this one solid path right here. Then we can take our direct selection tool, which is also the keyboard shortcut of A, and delete them. So now we can take this thing and we can scale it up, and look at that. It pretty much fits almost perfectly. All right, so for our icon set, instead of having them filled, I'm going to have them outlined. All right, so they're going to be outline-based icons. So we'll take this, our color right here in the swatches, and we're going to go up to around 3 points. All right, I think that'll be pretty good. So right now it looks kind of silly because it's on this with no padding in this sort of the container, but we can always just take it, replicate it if we want. We can see what it looks like over here. And also another tip, let me go to Window and where's our Transform? It's showing up on my other monitor somewhere. Where is it? There it is. Let me drag it over. And under Transform, if you want to see what it looks like at a smaller size, you want to make sure Scale Corners or Scale Strokes and Effects is applied. Because if you don't, and you try to scale this down, it maintains the same stroke width of 3 points. So if we check these on, we can see it'll adjust it based on how much smaller it actually is. So for this, this is pretty. It's a very simple. I wanted to start with something that's simple in terms of the actual icon shape. This works well, and you'll see though when we get a little bit more elaborate designs, how your spacing is real important when you scale down real small sizes, because when you scale it down at small sizes, certain details get fuzzy if you don't design it correctly. All right, so we'll just leave that over there for now. So now what we'll do is I'm going to unlock this here, and I'm going to duplicate it. So just right click, left click and drag, and then hold Alt. And when you do that, it'll automatically create a copy for you. I'm just going to move this over here. And by the way, that Skillshare course that I mentioned, he used reference photos. So you can just paste in photos right here, like if you're trying to design a specific object of some sort. The next one I think would make sense to do is like an arrow. And then we'll do another one where we combine the arrow and the heart together. And all this is, of course, useful because you're going to learn how to use the tools to really work with these shapes and modify them. Let me check out this. All right, everything's going good. Okay, so what we would do for an arrow, you could, we all know what an arrow is and what an arrow looks like, but sometimes it really helps just to get reference photos for other ideas. So what does an arrow usually look like? Okay, well, I don't know, arrow, heart. All right, so an arrow, of course, these are all like illustrations. You can get, if you want like a literal bow and arrow, we can see what arrows usually look like. So there's different styles. We have like the one with the fans on it. There's other ones, for instance, that I just saw, that have these sort of teardrop shapes. So it's all up to you stylistically with how you want to do it. But when you're designing an icon, remember the purpose of an icon is to visually represent some sort of idea. And sometimes it's without text, supporting text or a label. So you want to use whatever is most obvious in terms of trying to depict items. So I think I'm going to do the feather idea. All right, so for our next one, by the way, I'm going to lock both of these right here again. All right. Remember, we want to keep things consistent. So we already we've established the fact that, okay, we're working with this color, so we want the color to be consistent. We're going to use the same color. We want the stroke weight as well to be consistent. All right, so it's going to be 3 points as it's mentioned up here. So an arrow, okay, we'll take the pen tool. And again, we have these guides that are helping us. Initially, I think the arrow that I want to design is going to be at a 45-degree angle. That way it kind of fills up a space more. It's not just an up and down arrow. But to make it easier to design it, I'm going to design it so that we're doing it up and down first, because that's going to make it a lot easier to work with shapes and replicating the feathers and all that good stuff. So the first one, I think I'll do a line that just goes all the way from the top, hold Shift, and just come to the very bottom. Now, of course, it remembered my last selection, so that's handy, obviously. So the arrow, we'll start, I guess we'll say this is the top, and we'll put feathers that are pointing at a 45-degree angle this way. And the reason you want it to be 45-degree angle is because when you're dealing with these shapes and depicting certain things, having nice angles that are like perfectly consistent with each other, and also at a 45-degree angle, it's just nice to look at. So what we'll do here is I'll just put a random anchor right here and hold Shift, and the Shift will make sure that it's either up, down, or a 45-degree angle, and just send it right around, I don't know, right there. Now, we'll switch to the selection tool, which is V, by the way, and we're going to click on stroke right here and make sure that the corners and caps are rounded, just like that. So that's another aesthetic that we just introduced that we want to keep consistent. You don't have to round them, but I'm choosing to do it. So now this right here, you can see it's kind of extending. We can just move this over right there. And when you move it, you want to make sure you hold Shift so that you don't actually get off that angle. And I think I'm just going to have 3 of these feathers on each side. And again, when it comes to icon design, you generally don't want to be literal. You want to be abstract and simplistic in your approach to you don't want to go crazy detail. You want to keep things simple because it works at smaller sizes. And so what we're going to do is use the keyboard. We're going to duplicate this. I'm going to hit Control C, Control F. Usually you hit Control D, but I don't think it's working for me unless they change the shortcut. And what we're going to do is I'm going to hold Shift in the up arrow key. And what that does is it multiplies, and this is a tidbit that I learned from that course. If we go to Edit Preferences in General, and you go to Keyboard Increment, ours is set at 1. I don't know why it's at point. I told you to do pixels. It multiplies that by 10, basically. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. So now we're going to do that again. Control C, Control F, and then Shift up. Now we're going to hold Shift and make sure it's right here, this upper anchor point. If it extends beyond that, it's not a big deal. We're just using this for kind of like guides. We're going to take these 3, Control C, Control F, right click, transform, reflect, and hit OK. Hold Shift and move them over. Okay, now we have to have the arrowhead. And for this, instead of using the pen tool, which you could use, we're going to use a polygon tool. Left click, and for sides, choose 3. All right, and it's not in the correct orientation. We have to be pointing it down. So this needs to be adjusted right there. Gives us those guides. And we want to make sure we intersect to the middle portion. And this is where you don't want to scale strokes and effects, because this arrow is this is too big, the head rather. So we want to scale this down. In a way, we want to keep it in the center, so you hold Shift, Alt, and then left click and drag down. And really, to make things real consistent, it would make sense to duplicate this. Control C, Control F. And we want to make sure that maybe the width of this matches the outer bounds of this, so that it's really geometrically accurate in a sense. Unfortunately, it's not giving me guides, but there it is. It looks basically at the same exact size there. So which one was that? There it is. All right, let's delete that. Now, let's go ahead and fix this. We'll take the direct selection tool, which is also A. We'll take this bottom anchor point, hold Shift, and bring it up. All right, and we're almost done. We're going to take this, and you could just go like this, or to make it even more interesting and stylistic, we can bring it maybe right here. All right, so now if I take this and we rotate it, holding Shift, all right, now all we have to do is take these with the direct selection tool, A on your keyboard, and hold Shift, no, left click and then hold Shift all the way to the top here. We have to get it more in line with where it needs to be. I'll just drag things down just a notch. There we go. And it kind of snaps into place when you do that. And then take these with the direct selection tool, left click, hold Shift, and there we go. All right, so our 2 icons so far, we take these, are looking like this, and we can scale these down just to get an idea of what they're looking like. Oh, and that's where you want to make sure Scale, Strokes, and Effects is turned on. And there we go. Quite solid. And if you think you need more space between this area, you can obviously adjust these and nudge them with the distance between them with your keyboard. And if you wanted to do that when they're in this orientation of 45 degrees, you just take them. For instance, if you want to increase this space here, you go down left and down left, or whatever. But I'm going to leave them here. I think it's fine. All right, so let's do one where we combine both of these, because when it comes to icon sets, maybe you want to have multiple options. The ones with a ton of icons obviously are more popular. So I'm going to take this one, unlock it, and Alt left click, drag, just hold shift to keep it on the same plane here. All right, we're already 25 minutes in. Good stuff. Let me check the chat, make sure everyone's still with me. Why purple? I don't know. Why don't you care? Why do you care about me using purple? Is there something like, oh, it hurts my eyes? It doesn't fit with Valentine's? Purple, come on. It is too. It's like a feminine color, isn't it? What other color should I use then? We could use black. We can go for like a goth Valentine's icon set. All right. So the fact that if they're designed quite large, again, it's not meant to be put in this container here. Again, these can be scaled down quite small and still work. All right. Let's do the heart in. Fine. Maybe two people mentioned the comment about the purple. Is that better? You guys like that better? Let me know in the comments. All right. Maybe I can drag this over a little bit. And no, I like my big space here. I'll keep checking. I'll keep checking back. All right. All right. So for the next one, let's combine both of these, and this is where it gets more fun because we can use the Pathfinder in certain areas to make adjustments. So what we'll do is, by the way, let's lock both of these. What we'll do is, first I'll replicate this, so Alt and left click and drag over, and then we will replicate this one as well. So take this, Alt, and just drag it over into space. So this obviously looks terrible. So how do we fix this? All right, so first, you don't want all these intersecting lines up here. It doesn't even make sense as well. So what I will do is take this shape with just the regular selection tool, V on your keyboard, hold shift and bring it down, maybe to right around here. Then I'll take this key, or the direct selection tool, bring it down right there. And again, you don't want to get too close because at smaller sizes, it starts to look blurry and not good, essentially. Now this down here, also, that's a no-go. It doesn't work well. And I think to make it look like it's going through the heart, we can just drag this up. Oh, and by the way, notice it's not the right end cap, so we're going to select that, go to stroke, make it rounded. There we go. And then we have a decision to make because we're not too sure if, you know, we probably can't use all three of them. So because I want to show more of this going through going on the back side of the heart. So to do that, I think what we can do is just for a second, I'm going to just take this all the way down. And then what I will do is left click, drag out, and choose to add anchor point tool. And we'll make it go maybe around the center. There's the center right there. Left click, and then we'll create one right here. So we're going to intersect, and then create one in the middle after you create those 2 points, and just hit delete. Ta-da. Now let's see what this looks like, because it's kind of hard to get a gather. It's going to take all of them. Go like this. And now let's scale them down. Yeah, they look pretty solid, in my opinion. Yeah, I like them. So now I'll consider this one done. What we'll do now is something entirely different. And this one's going to be a fun one. I'm going to do like wine glasses for an icon. All right. So by the way, we're at what, 30 minutes now. So I always make it a priority to mention, you know, there's people who are just filtering in and out of the live stream all the time. So I just wanted to mention that this is an icon design tutorial follow along, and it's sponsored by Skillshare, and it's based on a very specific Skillshare course that you can take for free if you join up with the free 2 months link. Icon design, create a cohesive icon set. And this course is going to elaborate much more on what I'm doing and also how to properly export them and all that stuff. So definitely take advantage of that free 2 months. Okay, let's check the chat before we proceed. Yeah, Teddy icon, that would be a good one. All right. You know what? I'll just make it black. That way everybody can see it no matter what. There we go. Okay. All right, so next up, let's just unlock one of those. Bring this over. All right, so this one, yeah, wine glasses. All right, so again, this is one of those times where I would get some reference images. All right, we all know what a wine glass looks like. It's a fairly simple shape, but you see we're gonna have multiple wine glasses in a single icon, and we'll make that work as much as possible. All right, so we know what this looks like. It's just for reference. If you want, you can save one of these images and just drag it on into Illustrator and use it as a reference image there. Okay, so here's how I'm gonna approach this. Again, you don't want to use just the pen tool, especially to create round areas that you want to be perfect. What we can do is use the rounded rectangle tool again. And for now, we'll just come into the center, hold Alt, and we'll drag up. And again, you want the bottom to be perfectly round, just like that. Now the top, though, we obviously do not want that to be round. So what we'll do is we come out here and just go to Window and Properties. You'll get this panel. Let me move this over here for a second. And make sure this is off. And you just want to adjust the top 2 to 0. So the top left and then the top right. There we go. So now let's eyedrop tool that. And let's use a direct selection tool and bring it down a bit. It's a little bit tall. The height is entirely up to you, of course. All right. So let's just get the whole form done first before we add any details to it. Probably going to go like right around this size. All right. And what we're going to do is I'll simply have just a... we'll use the pen tool here just to go all the way down. Hold Shift to make it perfectly vertical. Hit Escape. And then I'm going to do another line all the way to the bottom, but don't worry, it's not going to be that wide. It's going to be serve as like the bottom of it. Hit V, and then we can just hold Alt and scale this in wherever you think it should be. You could go that far, but that looks a little silly. Maybe right around here. Wait, that does... oh, it looks off because this wasn't centered up. I don't think it was. There we go. Okay, cool. Now, we definitely want to keep our corners rounded. So we take that object there, or that path. There we go. Now they're rounded. And this works, but it's a little boring, right? So you want to add details where it makes sense. So we can do a reflection because glass is reflective, of course. And we can do this very simply. We'll take the pen tool again, start at the top, and maybe come down, maybe around here. And then I'll hit Escape, and then make a real tiny one. Oops. Make like a real tiny one. Hit Escape, get your eyedropper tool. Why does that not work? Oh, I'm sorry. I was screwing up. What we want to do is click once, and then there we go. So we have 2 anchor points real close to each other, and that's how we get that effect. And again, your spacing, you want to pay attention to that. You want to make sure things are not too far out. We can actually take this further and maybe fill the glass up a little bit. So we could take our pen tool. Maybe right around there. Oh, this needs to be rounded, by the way. All right, so that looks good, but the problem is it doesn't really take up our entire space here, right? Everything's been filling it out, but then we have this one sitting over here on its own. Doesn't look good. It throws off the flow and the consistency of the icon set. So what we'll do instead is we're going to take this, and we're going to have two of them. So I'm going to position this one to the very left. All right, and we can see that the size of it is definitely more than 50% of the width, which is what we want, because you just don't want two of them side by side. That would look stupid. So this is a pretty good area, I think. And what I'll do now is make sure Scale, Strokes, and Effects is turned off. We're going to hit right-click Alt. Make sure all of them are selected. All right, so now we have a duplicate, and just having them like this, right in, at the same height and size, doesn't make sense. We want to create some perspective on it. So the front one will be the larger one, and the back one will hold Shift just a bit. You don't want to do it too much. Maybe right around, maybe just a tad bit smaller. Maybe right around there is good. And make sure again that your Scale, Strokes, and Effect is turned off. All right, so now we have some overlapping issues here. So what we'll do is we'll select everything, and we'll go to Pathfinder. If you don't see it, you go to Window, Pathfinder. Where's it at? No, right there. And we can use Divide with all of these selected. And for some reason that hides. Where did this go? That's kind of strange. Well, no big deal. What I will do instead is just deselect those. So hold Shift with all those selected, and then just drag out an area to deselect those. So now we hit Divide, and what that does is it creates anchor points where these areas intersect each other. So that gives us, with the direct selection tool, the ability to come in and delete specific anchor points. And you may have to do it twice because it will replicate some areas. So like this one, nope, we don't want to do that. And you might have to, if it's deleting ones that you don't want it to, we can just take the pen tool, add anchor point tool right in the middle, and then delete. There we go. And then we can continue on deleting areas that we don't need. And again, that's kind of cool even out there, but I think we'll make it go all the way. There we go. All right, so this is pretty decent, but I kind of want to create negative space or white space so that these lines don't intersect here. All right, so there's probably multiple ways to go about this in terms of creating the separation. I think what I'll just do is the Add Anchor Point tool. One right there. Just because I want this to go kind of quicker. Oops. What we'll do is put one right here and then delete. And that's too close, definitely. So we're going to come out here. By the way, keep on forgetting to check that chat. Everything going good? All right. Everybody's a critic in the chat. No, that's okay though. Put this one right here. Seems like there's some overlapping lines and paths, but that's okay. Just for this quick, you can clean that up. You'd obviously want to clean that up. And I'm going to put one down here and then in the middle. And that was kind of off, so let's put it like right here. Again, you want it to be like an even amount of white space between these elements. So now it looks a little strange when you're viewing it in this perspective, but let's go ahead and take these. Oh shoot, what happened? That was one of my, there we go. That was one of my on my Friday live show countdown things or rating system. Sorry about that. Hopefully that wasn't on there for a long time. So we scale this down now. That looked horrible. Make sure scale strokes and effects is on. Yeah, these look pretty solid. Maybe the thickness. Oh, these strokes. What are the strokes at? Yeah, that's incorrect. 1 second here. I thought that looked a little bit off. There we go. So now we scale this down, and they're all looking pretty solid. Awesome. So let's back up. I'm gonna have to fix that for a second, another time. Okay. All right, let's do one more, and this time I'm gonna tackle a flower, I think. Let me check the chat, make sure everything's still good. Yeah, give me my. All right. All right, here we go. So let's take this one last time. We're gonna do a flower. And again, you would want to get your reference photos up just for ideas. Mine's gonna be like I think a tulip or something in terms of a shape. This time we're gonna have some more fun with shapes. So in another tool that we haven't used yet, I'm gonna take the ellipse tool, and this would serve as the bottom portion of it. And let me get this. There we go. And I kind of wanted the top of it to kind of like, let me lock that, to kind of flow up and out a little bit, maybe like this. Now I could do that with the pen tool. I mean, it's a simple enough shape, but there's another tool that makes it even easier, I think. So I'm going to use the pen tool here. We're going to start right here, and I'm going to left click and probably just up around here somewhere, just a little bit higher than the top of the circle. All right. Then I'm going to hit escape, and we're going to use the eyedropper tool real quick. By the way, if you ever want to see your lines, hit Control Y, and it just shows you pure paths or the outlines. And what we'll do now is we're going to use a specific tool called the anchor point tool right here, or Shift C. And with it selected, a path selected, you can left click and drag and create a Bezier curve. Now this would be a good time. Let me go back, hit Control Y, get real close to make sure that the angle of the Bezier curve that we're about to create kind of flows straight up and then over. So right around here looks pretty good to me. So now if I hit Control Y, or Control Y, we have a nice angle. It's kind of just going from the flow of the bottom of that. So then what we can do is I'm going to use the pen tool this time, I think, and I'm just going to click on that anchor point to continue it, and I'm going to probably come straight around, right around here or so. And you could still use that other tool if you wanted to, but in this case it's not so important because it's not connecting to another shape. All right. Now we'll hit escape, and I will take this path, and I will right or left click and drag Alt to create a copy. Right click, transform, reflect, hit OK, and then get this situated where it needs to be. All right. So now it looks too symmetrical, so we're gonna fix that. Let's see, maybe I will make this larger and make sure scale strokes and effects is off so that it kind of comes out further. Again, we're gonna have to get it situated again. All right, that looks pretty good. And then what I will do is do that same process of add anchor point tool right around here. Take our direct selection tool, delete that, All right. And then we will come down. I think maybe we'll make this come down a little bit further. And this is going to be tricky. So if I just click here and maybe come down, I may not be able to pull this off. I probably won't, in fact. No, see, you can just notice it looks so terrible when you are trying to make things look good. So I think I'm going to give it one more shot though. Maybe I'll come down here, hit Control H, and we'll use that anchor point tool, and it might help us visualize the flow of that path better. Now if I hit Control H, we can, I was hoping it would, there we go, that's not too bad looking. And again, you may need to adjust the anchor point down here and position it differently so that this will work a little bit better. So let me get our path right here. So if I hit Control Y, oops, I got to stop doing that myself. Isn't that funny? I'm giving myself a 1. I'm trying to hit Control 1 because I'm used to scaling that out. I think that's like a Photoshop thing. But you know what? This doesn't look good. So I think what I'll do, I think when I first prepared this, I got lucky. I'm going to possibly address this after fixing this part. It looks like cat ears. So let me, oops, sorry about that. Yeah, I'm going to come back to this. What I'll do is, where is the, let me see if I can, I want to get rid of these parts. So let me see if I can just take these lines. Now this may not work because sometimes it acts a little bit funky, like divide. They're still there. I don't know why it does that, but what we can do is just take them. They're selected right there and just hit this. Okay. So now I can take the add anchor point tool. Or just, yeah, we can use the pen tool. Left click here and then delete. Have to do it again. Seriously, let me hit delete. I'll use the add anchor point tool. There we go. There we go. So it's going to look a lot more like a flower now. It's a little bit large, but that's okay. What we'll do is take this and make it meet the very ends, drag it up, and then just put a simple line for the stem. Hit escape. Probably want to do a little bit more, what do you call? I have to fix this though. Hold on a second. This is annoying me. And just in case I can't, I'm gonna take everything and replicate it. All right, just put myself on the spot here. See if I can fix this or not. Oh, that's going up too high. I'll have to fix that afterwards. I'm gonna left click there. We're gonna hit escape. I'm gonna use that anchor point tool. Right around here. And then we can just adjust the other part right here. I kind of screwed it up. Okay, I'll stop being lazy and put a add anchor point tool here, and then just delete the last one. There we go. And then this has to be scaled down because I forgot that this side's a little bit higher. So So let's see here. There we go. So now we readjust the height of the stem. You could probably add more to this, but I think that's fine for now. We are at 50 minutes already. All right, so now let me take everything, and I'm just going to maybe make sure that this is not selected. I only want to select these. So now I take these, Alt and drag them over, and when you have an icon set, you want to present them usually in some manner. So you'd want to get them all evened out to look to where they're looking like they're spaced out pretty nice and even. And that looks kind of decent right there. And then show them in different sizes as well. So for ours, you want to show in you know, black and white, of course, like they are now, but also in color possibly. And then get everything situated here. So we'll take this, we'll replicate it, get these shown at maybe a smaller size, make sure this is turned on, like that. Move these over. Maybe do another one. I'm gonna go back to my color. I like it. People tell me that doesn't remind them of Valentine's Day. You kidding me? Let me check the chat here. Yeah, and there we go. It works well at smaller sizes. You could still tell exactly what they are. There's not too much clutter. Maybe this area might be a little bit much with this line coming down, but other than that, you could pretty much tell. I mean, this flower, I mean, yeah. I think maybe if I did a little bit more details, it'd be more obvious it's a flower. But yeah, hopefully you guys learned a thing or two about icon design. And this course, by the way, and this stream is sponsored by Skillshare. This is all gathered from the Icon Design Create a Cohesive Icon Set course at Skillshare, which you can take for free if you join with the free 2-month link that I have. And he goes into a lot more depth here about how to export them and translate them into Photoshop and all that other stuff. So it's free, so you might as well take it, especially if you're interested in an icon design. And I think as a UI designer, if you're a UI designer, it would be worth having the skill to be able to design icon sets like this for custom projects, or a project that you're real serious in and you want things to be unique as possible. I don't think you can go wrong having this skill. Of course, it is graphic design. It's not UI design. It is a graphic design skill, but at the end of the day, especially if you want to, I think you should try to branch out into other areas as much as possible. So that's why if you're a UI designer, it makes sense to also understand, at least at a basic level, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And if you're a UI designer, it also makes sense to understand graphic design. So there's these things all relate to each other, and there's overlap. And you know, a lot of people say, well, I just want to be an absolute pro in one thing, and that means I can't touch anything else. It's not true. You should always expand your horizon. So I know usually I'm focusing on front-end development and UI design on this course, but I definitely thought it would be a good idea to cover something like this as well. All right, I'm going to check the chats here. And next week, we are going to do a live design review again, because I go back and forth. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for watching. Yeah, I'll be back Friday, and of course, the regular videos along the week. Look forward to that front-end development course. where I take that UI design from the previous course released a couple days ago and make it a reality in the browser. I will see you guys later.